Off of first impression, what was your thoughts of the Ray Allen P's that he had?
I mean, I knew they were 100% not authentic.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go to 50 Chinese replica websites and the same exact shoe was up there for sale.
Right.
After I told him that, obviously through FaceTime, you can't really tell over the, over the phone. So he was like, come in and check them out. So I agreed to come here today, obviously, to look at them in person and just, give a little explanation of why they're not real. First and foremost, when you're dealing with, PEs and any sort of exclusive shoes like that, they don't come with this type of insert. I have hundreds of pairs of shoes and, none of my samples ever came with an insert like this.
Right.
So that's the first giveaway. Then on the inside of the shoe, if you see it, it has the size sticker, which is 10.5. That doesn't come on PEs as well. That's not something where, if they're making them for the player or whoever they already know their size. They don't need to put a little sticker on the inside that says, this is a size 10.5.
Especially with Ray Allen being with the brand for so long.
Any size 14.
Exactly.
So, I've heard of samples for shoes like, that were made for players that, maybe they'll make a size 9 sample if they're going to possibly release the shoe.
Yeah.
Like the Melos, for instance. They made a size 9 of that because that shoe was supposed to be released during holiday season. There was never any talk about this shoe being released. This shoe was made for him when he was playing in the championship.
Yeah.
As a promo sample, like some of them will say like holiday or what season, this shoe wasn't spoken about as ever going to be a release shoe.
Right.
So they would only make that for him in his size. Then you obviously come to a lot of obvious things of why, which it's hard to explain over the phone.
Yeah.
So, when I said, let me see the stitching, I mean, you could see from the stitching, just to begin with, the stitching on this shoe and the stitching on that shoe is completely different. This stitching is almost parallel and even with each other. These ones are off. So, that's first giveaway. Then when you go to the back of the shoe, and now this is the same thing. I'll put the Space Jam up too. When you look at where the patent leather sits, it sits way lower on a release shoe from, these shoes came from Foot Locker.
Yeah.
So a release shoe, it sits way lower. You see how high this is. It's at least, a quarter of an inch, maybe a little bit more higher on the shoe. And that's regardless of size. It doesn't matter that this shoe's a size 10 and this shoe is a 10.5.
Right.
That's just uniform for the cuts of the shoe. Then also, like we said before, you see the dip is, a nice little hill. On this one, it's really prominent. You see it go in and out. Then this part of the patent leather and this part of the patent leather, this one is way higher. Then when you get to like the stitching around where this 34 is and the stitching around where the 23 is, you can't see the little holes where the stitching is. And on this one, it's in the shoe. You really can't see that. I don't know if you can see that, but it's the same thing when you get to the Space Jams. The shoes are uniform. If you look at the dip on this one, it's the same thing. The height, just so you see these two, they match.
Right.
Completely match. There's no different. And then now when you get to the actual inside of the shoe, you see how like the patent leather on this one is like this and then gets to here. This is way smaller. This actual thing is seamless. On this you see the seam. You see the stitching in the seam. Then also like, now look at this cut, the way it flows. Look at the cut on this, how it's like deep. This one is like almost like goes to like a point V and then comes out. On this one it's just rounded. Now if you go to the same thing with Space Jams, you're going to a V.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing, and goes up, so that's some of the first dead giveaways. Now also when you go to like the actual height of the shoe, the height of this shoe and the height of this shoe is completely different. You know what I mean? If you go across here, it doesn't even touch the top of this, and it's not even because it's worn. Even if it was worn and it was open, it still wouldn't be the same height. And the same thing with this one. You look at them and you put the two shoes, the same exact height. Now, you're going to tell me that color and that color are the same?
Definitely not.
Not even close. This shoe is like an infrared red. This actual PE that was made for him is like, it's blood red. It's not a shoe that, you could mistake the colors. I mean, the colors, even from the picture, I don't know if you could see, is not even close. So, I tried to explain that to him to begin with, like the colors off. And then also when it comes to like the Ray symbol, the Ray symbol on his pair is like this big, legitimately this big.
Yeah.
On this shoe, it's a tiny little logo. You know what I mean? It should be bigger. And then I was trying to tell him, this across here, across the center, is not even, you know, you saw the color. I mean, this color is dark red. This color is infrared. If you look at, say, you know, 11, I mean, come on. There's no questioning that type of thing. Also, you see where this Jumpman is and then the pod is? I mean, obviously, I wear my shoes, but,
yeah.
you know, these are new. But you see how it's like maybe like a 1/4 inch from the pod? Look how far this one is.
Right.
Same thing. And it's not, doesn't vary really that much with the size. Maybe a fraction, but not like that. And then, you know, you look at the same thing with this one. You know, it's pretty much the same thing. It's not, it's uniform across for shoes. Now when you get to like stitching. Now look at the stitching on this shoe and then the stitching on this shoe. See how that's like the Cool Gray is really tight stitching and the other one's like a looser stitching?
Yeah.
The stitching should be uniform, you know, when they're putting it in. It's not like, oh, they vary from shoe. When you look at this shoe and this shoe, stitching is identical on both the shoes. You know, so that's why I wasn't trying to shit on him. I wasn't trying to embarrass him. I wasn't when Kenny called me and said, hey, you know, do you mind talking on FaceTime? I didn't know it was gonna go like left. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. It went to like the point of where like, you know, he was on some, I got this Frank Lucas connect, this and that. And it's like, it's cool, you know what I mean? And like when I told him like my boy's really real deal cousins with Ray Allen. And I didn't say that to be like throw it in his face or be whatever. I was saying that because when this shoe surfaced, he came to my store and we had a conversation. I was like, bro, you gotta get that shoe. And he was like, yeah. And he really, you know, texted his aunt and tried. And she was like, Ray only got them in his size, and like he wanted them in my boy's size. He wanted them, so he was like, you know, is there any way I could get anywhere from a 9 to a 10, 10 and a half?
Yeah,
they don't exist. That's what he was told directly from Ray's mouth. Ray told his mother, who's his mother's aunt, that he can't get the shoe because they're only made in his size, and that was it. So from that point on, I've never heard or seen anyone with a legit pair. I mean, there's 50 pages on Instagram that's showing the same exact shoe.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, in a 10 and a half, when do you really know samples that come in 10 and a half like that? 9, those 28 days, came in size 10. And then like, you look at this sample tag, like this sample tag on the inside is like one of the most easily replicated stamp. All it is stamp, stick it in the shoe, and it's like supposedly gives value to the shoe. And it's not, there's no value to the shoe, you know what I mean? That's easy. And then the same thing like he was saying with like the bomb box. I mean, it's a piece of paper printed. I could print this on my computer in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not, that doesn't give you thing. And then on the original video, he showed like the red insert, like the insert that goes on top, and the same thing like with the Bread 11s.
Right.
And samples don't come that way, you know what I mean? Like they'll come in a generic box like this, or they'll come in like an orange box, a bomb box, or whatever it is. But you know, very few samples come with the paper either. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that, you know?
Yeah.
But again, he didn't really want to hear it. But you know, it's just the truth. You know what I'm saying? It's not, and again, it's not to shit on him or not to, you know, talk bad about him. I mean, I respect him as a person, what he does in rap industry or whatever, but you know, these shoes just definitely are not authentic. You know what I mean? And hopefully from him seeing this and seeing all the things that I pointed out, whoever he got them from, he could either get his money back or burn them, whatever he wants to do. You know what I mean? But they're definitely just not an authentic shoe. And, you know, whatever connections or things that his person said that he had or whatever, definitely fed him some lines and he got. It's funny because I was talking to Kenny yesterday, and Perfect Pair and I were talking about it, whatever, he hit me up, we were just talking about it, and, you know, he said the same thing. He said, bro, they're 100% not authentic. Yeah. You know what I mean? Not to put him on spot or anything like that, but he said, you know, they're just not authentic shoes. And I said, everybody gets got, bro. I got. You know what I'm saying? Everyone. It happens to the best of us.
Of course.
But it's just one of those things where, you know, I hope he didn't spend a lot of money on the shoes because that would kind of suck.
He really just hit me up one day. I was like, yo, come by the studio. And and it was like far. It was like a 3-hour drive. But I went down there, and I felt like I was in school, you know, and I was just happy to just be there and just learn and just watch this creative process.
We always wanted like air bubble shoes and like bulky shoes and all that. Like that was just our wave, you know. And I know Baltimore and a lot of like Harlem was rocking with it too, but DC, that's Foamposite land.